Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and thank you once again for coming to my YouTube channel. I had something special planned out for you today, guys, with a writing episode, but I'm going to push that off until tomorrow because Wednesdays are always our writing episode days. That being said, today's episode is still very special to me because I'm finally able to introduce to you guys a passion project of mine that I've been working on for so many months now, and it's finally my own solo podcast called Joe's Show. The reason why I'm having Joe's show and I'm not bringing on a host like I've had in the past with episodes with podcasts like Midnight Snacks, Just Another Chapter, My Life Sucks the sequel, My Life Sucks Enjoy. It's because I've always wanted to have my own show, similar to how Joe Rogan has his own show, to how Bill Simmons has his own show, Zach Lowe, Woj, all of these different people who have their own podcast, and it's their podcast, it's their name. They're not depending on anybody else. And while I love every single podcast partner that I've had, and I still do podcasts with Shay and Jacob from My Life Sucks and Just Another Chapter, I feel as if I need to go and be my own podcast host because I feel like I need to grow in that aspect. Because I genuinely want my career to be a podcaster, a photographer, a videographer. And I feel like I need to take that next step to be able to get to that scenario, to that situation of where I want to be in life. What is Joe's show going to essentially comprise of? It's honestly simple because you guys know me. You know we're going to talk about mental health on this podcast, but it's not going to be the entire focus of the podcast. We're also going to be talking about real life scenarios that are happening in the world. For example, when George Floyd got murdered in Minneapolis, we would have talked about that. We would have taken both sides of the argument. We would have been able to discuss it with interviews, with guests, and just get to the bottom of it from both angles. Because that's what you need to do to have a respected conversation, a respected opinion, is by having both sides of the story. And I find that to be very important. Why do I want to have my own podcast? Why do I want to have Joe's show? And I already mentioned that it's because I want to take that next step, but that's my own personal reasons. Let me tell you why I want to have this podcast for the people who will be listening to this podcast. I want people who struggle to have a safe space that they can just listen and act as if they're talking with me. We're not always going to be talking about mental health. We're not always going to be talking about hard-hitting topics. Sometimes we might talk about lighthearted things because as if anybody who struggles with mental health knows that sometimes you just need to talk about anything but reality to get better. You just need that distraction. And I'll be able to provide that for you guys, whether we talk about sports, movies, pop culture, anything is super important. Anything is going to help because I just want to create a safe space where somebody can listen, where they can feel like they're part of the conversation, where they can feel as if they're okay. And that's really the main reason why I'm doing this podcast. Another big reason why I'm doing this podcast is because I want to spread mental health awareness. Not only in the sense that, yeah, mental health is great, and I've already gotten onto that in last Wednesday's episode, the writing episode. I want to spread mental health in the sense that this is how it is. It's not just how people describe it in an Instagram post, in a tweet, or in a TikTok. Mental health is so much more than just those 3 or 4 words that you hear on a screen, that you see on a screen, that, oh, mental health is really bad. Mental health is really bad. That was 5 words. Sorry, I can't count. We need to talk about real life experiences. We need to talk about how it affects us internally, how it affects us physically. People who come in every single day to work with a smile, but they're hurting inside. That is what mental health is in a nutshell. There is so much deeper than just that. Mental health, saying mental health is important, we need to talk about it, is not enough anymore. We need to take that next step forward and show real life scenarios of how people are dealing with it and how people are overcoming it. That is where we are right now in society. That's where we need to get to in society. So one thing I want to talk about in this podcast is the constants in my life. These are the things to me that are important and the reasons why I still go hard every single day, even though some days I don't want to. I have 2 constants in my life, only 2. A lot of people have only 1, a lot of people have a lot more, some have none. My 2 constants in my life are my mother and the fact that I want to help people as a career. My career has changed hundreds of times. I went from wanting to be a civil engineer to an architect to a psychologist to a sports psychologist to a sports broadcaster to an editor to a photographer to a videographer to a podcaster to somebody who wants to go and work in third world countries to build houses. The only constant in all of those jobs is helping people. Civil engineer, architect, you are helping people find shelter, or you're helping people escape reality with just a shopping mall or a city or whatever you are going to build. With psychology, sports psychology, do we need to talk about how that helps people? We know why it helps people. Photography, videography, I want to capture people's moments, capture their emotions, because sometimes you need those moments to remember just how good you are in that moment. And the same thing for podcasting and helping people. Helping people has been the only thing I've been able to tell people my entire life when they ask me, hey Joe, what do you want to do as a career for the rest of your life? Because it's daunting. At 11, 12, 13, 14, even 22, it's daunting to think for the next 60 years of your life, you're going to be doing just one thing. So I decided to be as vague as possible and say, I want to help people, because helping people can be so many different things and not just physically helping people. Sometimes it's just emotionally helping people. Sometimes it's helping somebody escape. There's so many different possibilities. And the other constant has been my mom. I don't really have to say much. I love that woman to death. She is a queen, my queen. I love her to death. Mom, thank you for watching all of my videos. You are my biggest fan, and I really appreciate you. And lastly, in January, I said I want to restart a mental health series I had last year called Why We Do It. And this will be the majority of where the mental health, hard-hitting conversations will be going, because this is where we're going to sit down with people who have been dealing with mental health for the majority of their lives, and we're going to talk to them about how they handle it, where it came from, what did they do to overcome it, and on top of that is how do they smile every day, or why can't they smile at all. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about so many different things, but it's a passion project of mine that I want to succeed in, not for myself, but I want to succeed in it because I genuinely believe that I can make a podcast where people can feel safe, where people can feel as if they are a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem. Yeah. Guys, I'm going to stop it there. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.